Well, Labour Party's chair, Anneliese Dodds, joins me now in the studio. Morning. It looks like we're going to get an announcement from government today on the sub-postmasters. They're saying it's imminent. No opposition from Labour if they're going to quash these convictions, is there?
Absolutely not. And we really need to see timely action that's actually going to provide some justice to those former postmasters and mistresses who've been treated so appallingly badly. So obviously we'll look at those plans very carefully. They do need to secure justice and, above all, exonerate those who've been so badly treated.
Lots of questions today also about Fujitsu. Would Labour stop Fujitsu having any more government contracts?
So in terms of current contracts that Fujitsu holds, we obviously believe it's important that there isn't an assumption of culpability. There is that inquiry that's ongoing that will be looking at this very carefully. But there are questions to be answered about why additional contracts were provided to Fujitsu when that company was already subject to an inquiry. So I think the government really does need to be clear around, was there proper due diligence undertaken in relation to those new contracts that Fujitsu's been awarded since that inquiry's been running?
The government says, we put that to the Post Office Minister this morning, and he said, we have to wait for this inquiry to finish. We're not going to be judge and jury before the inquiry ends. Are you saying that if Labour got into power in the spring, that they would do something differently to that, or would you too wait for the inquiry to finish?
We think in this context, government needs to be doing that proper due diligence for a company that is subject to an inquiry. There's really big questions for Fujitsu to answer, as with, of course, the Post Office itself and all of those who really have been involved to different levels in this. I mean, we need to understand who was aware of what was taking place. But above all, of course, we've got to get that compensation to the victims of this and make sure that they are exonerated. And above all, that is Labour's priority.
Has the Labour Party got any contracts with Fujitsu?
That's a good question. I don't believe we do. I have to say that hasn't crossed my desk as Labour Party chair, but I'll certainly look into that.
And if you did, I mean, would that be cause for concern?
Well, as I mentioned before, obviously Fujitsu's role in this scandal is being investigated by the inquiry. But I think there are broader lessons as well that go beyond just this one company, as critical as that is. Why did we have such a long period when postmasters were raising these concerns, when repeatedly they were told they were wrong, and in fact they were even prosecuted, ending up in jail, having their careers ruined? We need to look into this, just as with the Windrush scandal, frankly, as well. This is not the only situation where we've had really severe injustice and a lack of action for a long period.
Now, of course, a lot of attention has been focused on the Post Office, who, as a company, brought the majority of these convictions. But the Telegraph is reporting this morning that whilst most prosecutions were made directly by the Post Office, at least 27 were brought by the CPS. Now, of course, the Labour leader, Keir Starmer, was in charge of that between 2008 and 2013. Do you think he needs to answer questions about why the CPS were involved here?
So you're right that the vast majority of these prosecutions were private prosecutions. I think there are questions to ask, frankly, about that whole system around why the Post Office had that power and why it was using it in that way with private prosecutions. My understanding is that any CPS engagement happened after Keir Starmer had left the CPS. That's my understanding of the situation. And the CPS
that's not what's being reported this morning, though. So if that's your understanding, but if it's now been discovered that there were cases that were brought when he was Director of Prosecutions, does that change anything?
Well, I think we need to investigate what happened across the board on this, and that's why that inquiry is so important. But ordinarily, the CPS would not be involved in private prosecutions. In fact, it wouldn't even be informed about those private prosecutions. It wouldn't be told by the Post Office about private prosecutions. And as I say, my understanding is that that was the case at least up until 2014, at which point Keir Starmer was not in charge of that organisation. But I think it's right, all of this is going to be looked at by the inquiry. We need to understand why we had such injustice for such a long period of time. We need to have that accountability. But above all, we need to make sure those former postmasters and mistresses, some of whom are quite elderly now, actually get that compensation and that justice that they deserve.
What broader lessons have you taken away from this scandal about how the government and how the legal system and how a lot of MPs, it seems, treat, in inverted commas, the little man?
I think there are broader lessons. And, you know, as I said, this is not the first time when we've had effectively whistles being blown repeatedly and not listened to. We had that Windrush scandal as well. And again, in that case, in fact, many people still not receiving the compensation that they deserve either. So there are really big questions here about when people are listened to and what then happens ultimately. I think it's right that there is that proper inquiry by Sir Wyn Williams really looking in to what responsibility was at the time, who knew what and when. Were there people who were willfully acting against the evidence? I think that's the critical question. But then, as I said, the most important thing is that those who were so appallingly treated actually get that justice they deserve and the compensation as well, because we're talking about people whose lives have been wrecked. You know, many of them had worked for the Post Office for 30 years, 40 years. They had their whole career really thrown away. You know, even their own kids questioning whether they'd been dishonest. I can't imagine what that must have been like. And we need to be thinking about what we can do to at least provide that compensation and exoneration that really is their right.
Anneliese Dodds, Chair of the Labour Party, thank you very much.
Thank you.